we're going to bring you all of the country's top stories. Our first story coming from right here in Delhi. These are developments that took place just a few moments ago as a court refused to grant interim protection from arrest to the Delhi Chief Minister. Remember, on Thursday, the 9th summons were issued to him in the same case. This is the Delhi Liquor Excise Policy case. It's a case that's been investigated by the ED over the last few years, and we'll bring you more context on it, because remember, the key accusation against the Aam Aadmi Party is that in the excise policy that they introduced and then quickly rescinded a few years ago, the Aam Aadmi Party, which is of course in power in Delhi, was laundering amounts of money. That's the allegation against the party. They have continued to maintain their innocence. They've also challenged parts of what laws the ED was actually arresting them under. We'll bring you more context on all of this in a second. First, our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar joins us with more context on the story. Let's go over to him, but before that, quickly, some reactions.
The petition is not maintainable. That was our main ground. And according to us, it's not maintainable. It's a desperate attempt for him to file the petition. Main दलील तो ये है जी, उन्होंने जो जजमेंट पे रिलाई किया, वो जजमेंट रिलाई नहीं हो सकते क्योंकि वो जो है इंटरिम ऑर्डर्स थे. इंटरिम ऑर्डर्स कांट बी रिलाइड एज प्रेसिडेंट्स.
अरविंद केजरीवाल को फिर से एक बार दिल्ली हाईकोर्ट की तरफ से झटका पड़ा है. दिल्ली हाईकोर्ट ने कोई भी राहत देने से मना कर दिया है और अरविंद केजरीवाल के तमाम बहाने, उनके तमाम विक्टिमहुड कार्ड को खारिज करते हुए एक प्रकार से पुष्टि कर दी है कि जो भी जांच हो रही है, जो भी समन्स दिए जा रहे हैं और जो भी शराब घोटाले के स्वरूप में आज तथ्य सामने निकल कर आए हैं, वो पूर्ण तरीके से सत्य है, उसमें सत्यता है और प्रथम दृष्टया अरविंद केजरीवाल को जवाब देना चाहिए. उल्टा कल तो कोर्ट ने कहा भी कि अरविंद केजरीवाल आप पेश क्यों नहीं होते.
Okay, let's go over to our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar. Let me also tell you, our colleague Arunima, who tracks the ED and the Home Ministry, is joining us for this story. We'll first go to Ananya. Ananya, tell our audiences more about what took place in court today. Why exactly was what the Aam Aadmi Party wanted denied to them? Tell us that, and also tell us, in the original case, exactly what parts of the PMLA, the Prevention of the Money Laundering Act, was the Aam Aadmi Party arguing with?
Well, definitely. The key acquisition of the Aam Aadmi Party is that this particular summons, these 9 summons that have been issued to Arvind Kejriwal, are something that are not, ordinary summons. These are special summons because these are election summons. These are, issued right before the election. And time and again, the High Court has questioned Mr. Arvind Kejriwal as to why he has not appeared before the agency. He has cited various reasons, Vipassana, whether it be Vipassana or the budget session at the Parliament of the Delhi Assembly. All of these reasons were given out by him, but the clear question of the High Court has always remained, why have you not appeared before, in fact, the Delhi High Court, before the agency? And not only this, a very clear statement is now today coming from the Enforcement Directorate, wherein it told the court that, he was summoned in an individual capacity, is what Mr. S.V. Raju has submitted before the court. But why is him being summoned as an individual very, very important? Because the key acquisition against Mr. Arvind Kejriwal as an individual is that he had met Ms. K. Kavita, and has asked her to in fact give 100 crore rupees. Out of these 100 crore rupees, she had asked Mr. Manguta Reddy to actually arrange for 50 crores, and this is a statement that was given out by Mr. Manguta Reddy. All of this is a part of the remand note that was accessed by CNN News 18. This was the remand note, while the Enforcement Directorate was actually seeking for a remand of Ms. K. Kavita. Not only this single acquisition, but the another acquisition that remains is calling Vijay Nair as his own boy. The another thing is the meetings that have taken place at his residence, where the draft policy was handed over to C. Arvind, who had then got it printed and had handed over to the South Lobby. And these are the acquisitions why the Enforcement Directorate wants to question and quiz Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. But he is constantly not going before, in fact, the enforcement agency. The enforcement agency had filed 2, complaints before a trial court. Also that, he's keeping summons. He's liable to be charged under 174 of the IPC. And, the court had, in fact, in that case, granted him bail. But the fact of the matter is he's not appeared before the agency even after 9 summons, and the precedent that we have seen ever in PMLA is the case of Hemant Soren, where almost 10 summons were issued, but over the 10th summon, he was actually arrested by the Enforcement Directorate.
Ananya, thank you for that context. Stay with us. Let's go over now to our colleague Arunima to understand more. Arunima, first we're just coming to you with the basic question. We know that the Aam Aadmi Party has alleged time and time again that all of this is being done to arrest the Chief Minister before the elections, so that the BJP has that big win, the symbolic win as well as the literal win for the BJP. Can you tell our audiences a little bit more about that question, about whether or not an arrest might actually be impending, especially now that the court has said what it had to today?
So Additional Solicitor General Raju was very clear that when it comes to that stage, the IU will take a call, and Section 50 of the PMLA is very clear. The investigating officer does have the power to summon a person and then take a call whether that person's testimony should be recorded as that of a witness or that person should be made an accused. Now, what the Additional Solicitor General representing the Enforcement Directorate said was, and this has been the ED's case all through, that let the accused or let the witness first appear. During the course of the questioning, the IU will take a call as to in what capacity that person should be questioned, and it was reiterated today. But the other clarification, an important clarification that came, was that Arvind Kejriwal is being summoned by Enforcement Directorate as Arvind Kejriwal in his individual capacity, not because he's the national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party. Why is this distinction important? Because earlier ED had told the Supreme Court during the bail hearing of Manish Sisodia that they feel Aam Aadmi Party is a beneficiary of the proceeds of the crime, and therefore they are now contemplating making Aam Aadmi Party an accused in this case. And therefore Kejriwal was arguing that I am being summoned because they want to, destroy my party ahead of Lok Sabha elections, and I'm being called as a national convener of that party. Now that clarity has come, expect summon number 10 from the Enforcement Directorate to land at Arvind Kejriwal's doorsteps. Options are running out for him. Of course, he can go to the Supreme Court with the same plea of interim protection, but the options definitely are running out for him. And the Bharatiya Janata Party is alleging that the long arm of law is catching up. So once summon number 10 reaches him, if the Supreme Court also does not intervene, Kejriwal will have to appear before the Enforcement Directorate.
Okay, Arunima, I want to ask you, a number of opposition members in the past have criticized these laws. So the PMLA law that we're talking about, for example, they've said that once this law is on the table, it's very hard for anyone who is being tried under it to prove themselves innocent. I just want to ask you, what do legal experts have to say about this facet?
See, PMLA, the way it has been designed, the onus of proof, the burden of proof lies on the person who has been made an accused under PMLA. It's very different from the way the Indian Penal Code, which is now, of course, the BNS, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the way our criminal jurisprudence has been designed, you are innocent until you are proven guilty. The PMLA, however, puts the burden of proof on the suspect. There are also other provisions which allows Enforcement Directorate much more elbow room, and that is why it has been argued as draconian. But Supreme Court has upheld the law, so the opposition will have to abide by it, whatever their reservations might be. And that's exactly what the ED has been arguing, that as of this moment, what we are doing is as per law of the land, and as per the law of the land, Arvind Kejriwal must appear. There can't be two parameters for him and for the general public, because after all, he's a citizen as well. And because he's the Chief Minister, a holder of a constitutional position, he must set the right example. So we'll have to wait and see how this goes from here on.
Okay, and Arunima, if I could ask you a more political question here, could you just walk our audiences through the slew of different Aam Aadmi Party leaders who, as we speak, are in prison, and also tell our audiences the legal options now in front of Kejriwal? Are we essentially looking at a future where the Chief Minister of Delhi, possibly 100% in jail before the elections?
So let me answer the second part of the question first. Well, Aam Aadmi Party would want you to believe that that is where all of this is leading up to. Of course, the ED, even today in court, said that we have not come to that stage. Why are we jumping the gun? Let the IU first question him, let him appear before him, and then, we will see whether, he has to be made a witness or an accused. But at this stage, Aam Aadmi Party, even when the first set of summons went, they went to Delhi, all over Delhi, conducted a survey about what will happen if Kejriwal goes to jail. There have been a lot of speculations about who would take the CM's chair. So, ahead of Lok Sabha elections, it's also a political move to garner that sympathy vote in favor of Arvind Kejriwal and for the party. Having said that, the fate of the party itself is hanging in balance. Manish Sisodia in jail, Sanjay Singh in jail, Satyendra Jain in a different case in jail, other functionaries under the scanner. Vijay Nair was considered the right arm of Arvind Kejriwal. He called him allegedly my boy, again in custody. His own personal assistant and others who are close to him, including his Rajya Sabha MP, now under the scanner in the Delhi Jal Board scam, being raided as well. So options definitely, both politically and legally, are very tight for the Aam Aadmi Party. But they are hoping that they will be able to sail through because people of Delhi are with them. But will that happen? We'll know only once the elections are over.
Okay, Arunma, Ananya, stay with us, please. We'll come back to you in a second. Let's just play out reactions to the story, political reactions. Take a look.
मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल, आपने जिस निर्लज्जता से शराब नीति में घोटाला किया, जल बोर्ड में घोटाला किया, उतनी ही निर्लज्जता से आपने कानून का उल्लंघन करने की कोशिश की। 2 दिन में लगातार 2 बार माननीय न्यायालय के पास जाकर जो प्ली आप रख रहे थे उसको आज दरकिनार कर दिया गया और कह दिया गया कि सच्चाई ये है कि कानून सबके लिए बराबर है, वो चाहे भारत का कोई साधारण नागरिक हो या दिल्ली का भ्रष्ट मुख्यमंत्री हो, और आपको उसका पालन करना पड़ेगा। कब तक भागेंगे आप?
महीनों से बड़ी संख्या में वहां पे पढ़ने वाली छात्राओं के साथ किया जा रहा है। ये दुर्घटना जब सामने आई, जब 2 छात्राओं ने इस पूरे मामले की 31 जनवरी को शिकायत की, जिसके आधार पर 22 फरवरी को एफआईआर लॉन्च हुई। किस तरह आम आदमी पार्टी, केजरीवाल और स्वास्थ्य मंत्री दिल्ली सरकार इस पूरे मामले में प्रिंसिपल को, सलीम शेख को और नीला वर्धन को, कोऑर्डिनेटर को, इन तीनों को बचा रहे हैं। और जब अंबेडकर मेडिकल कॉलेज में जो जन आंदोलन समाज के द्वारा चल रहा है, समाज के तमाम लोग, इन बच्चों के पेरेंट्स।
Okay, we're now moving on to a different story, but of course this is the story we'll continue to have our reporters come in on. We're taking you now to a different story, one that played out earlier this morning with the Congress bringing each of its senior leaders. So, Party President Mallikarjun Kharge, Senior Leader Rahul Gandhi, Senior Leader Sonia Gandhi, onto a press conference stage. They were addressing the press about a key issue. They're saying that after the freezing of their bank accounts, they are being unable to fund their electoral efforts completely. The argument that they're making, and this is in fact an argument that they first flagged early in February, was that the IT department had frozen multiple bank accounts that belonged to the Congress. Now, the IT department's formal response awaits, but the sources within the IT department have said that they froze accounts because there was a failure from the Congress for a few years to fulfill their tax payments. We'll take a deeper dive into the nuances of this story, what Congress leaders have had to say about the IT department's claim that taxes aren't being fulfilled, the larger story here. But this entire story is also being linked to electoral bonds. That's because, as you might know, the Supreme Court, after giving certain orders, has now made it so that we are going to be receiving alphanumeric codes and details of electronic bonds in just a little while. Remember, already electronic bond details are out in the public. However, exact details linking those amounts, those large amounts, to who they were given and which parties to, all of that will be out in just a little while from now. Now, the Congress is attacking the BJP on that front. They're saying, of course, that while we have no money, you've been using electoral bonds to fund your efforts. We're just going to walk you through this entire controversy. We'll play out reactions and what the BJP had to say. Take a look.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जिस चुनावी चंदा बॉन्ड को इलीगल और अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कहा, उस स्कीम के तहत मौजूदा सत्ताधारी दल ने हजारों करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा अपने अकाउंट में भर लिया है। और दूसरी तरफ साजिशन मुख्य विपक्षी दल का बैंक अकाउंट फ्रीज कर दिया गया है ताकि हम पैसों के अभाव में बराबरी से चुनाव ना लड़े और ना लड़ पाए, ये सत्ताधारी दल द्वारा एक खतरनाक खेल है।
A systematic effort is underway by the Prime Minister to cripple the Indian National Congress financially.
All our bank accounts have been frozen. We can do no campaign work. We cannot support our workers. We cannot support our candidates. Our leaders cannot fly from one part of the country to the other. Forget fly. They can't take a railway train. And this has been done literally 2 months before the election campaign.
राहुल जी इसको हफ्ता वसूली कहते हैं, खुद भी 1400 करोड़ उनको मिला उनकी पार्टी
ठीक है, तो फिर उन्होंने 1600 करोड़ का हफ्ता क्यों वसूला, वो उसका हिसाब देना चाहिए। 1600 करोड़ उनको भी मिला है, हमें 6000 करोड़ मिला है, तो सामने सारे इंडी अलायंस घमंडिया गठबंधन को भी 6000 करोड़ मिला है, एक पैसा कम नहीं मिला है। राहुल जी ने सबसे पहले वो चंदा कहां से वसूला है, हफ्ता कहां से वसूला है, इसका हिसाब। हम तो कहते हैं इसमें एक पैसा हफ्ता नहीं है, ये शुद्ध रूप से पारदर्शी तरीके से लाया गया चंदा है, मगर वो खुद स्वीकार कर रहे हैं बॉन्ड की व्यवस्था हफ्ता वसूली है, तो उन्होंने 6000 करोड़ का हिसाब देना चाहिए कि तृणमूल कांग्रेस कहां से लाई, वो कहां से लाए हैं, एनसीपी कहां से लाई है।
अमित जी, कुछ पार्टीज ने अपनी जो है लिस्ट ऑफ डोनर्स को घोषित किया है, क्या आप कोई भारतीय जनता पार्टी भी ऐसा करेगी?
भाई क्या घोषित कर रहे हो, कल सारा घोषित हो जाने वाला है। मैं आपको बताने वाला हूं, बताने जा रहा हूं, घोषित कल होगा। ये मुंह नहीं दिखा पाएंगे, इंडी अलायंस मुंह नहीं दिखा पाएगा।
जब पता चलेगा कि कहां से
जब पता चलेगा चंदा कहां से आए, ये समझे बगैर कुछ लॉयरों के दिए हुए चीट पढ़ कर भाषण करते हैं राहुल गांधी। उनको मालूम नहीं है कि उन्होंने अपने पैर पर कुल्हाड़ी मारी।
Okay, our colleague Pallavi joins us to bring us more context on this entire story. Pallavi, if we just focus first on the aspect in which the Congress is saying that they are now having difficulty funding their electoral campaigns because of this. The IT department has said, sources have said that it was the failure of the Congress to fulfill paying their taxes at the right time that's led to this action. What does the Congress have to say in response?
See, first of all, the Congress is maintaining their line that they were not a tax evader. They have been paying the taxes, but everyone is given an option of paying it by piecemeal. So 20%, 15%, that's the kind of tax structure which the Congress party has adhered to. And not just that, the Congress claims that they have always been in touch with the income tax department and they have been asking for time. But clearly the government has decided that they are not going to give any amount of time as far as the Congress is concerned. In fact, within the Congress, there are many who claim that given the structure of the political party, nowhere does a rule maintain that it has to give taxes. Counter question they've asked is, and what about the BJP? Have they paid taxes? Do we even know about it? And has it ever been made public? Caught in the midst of all this, Toya, is always going to be the war of words. The BJP accusing the Congress of needlessly stoking a controversy. The Congress making the point that you always are indulging in political witch hunt. And that's the reason why today the top three of the party got together to take on the government.
Can you also tell our audiences, Pallavi, because Congress leaders do at some points put out documentation to support what they're saying. What do we know about the state of the Congress party's finances right now? These are claims they first raised in early February. From early February to now, how have they been funding themselves?
Well, I mean, the Congress is, talks about the fact that they get minimal funding because they are not in the party at the bar of the centre, and the BJP also scares many of the corporates to not give them money. But if you go through the accounts which are put up by the Congress on the website, it does talk about a certain amount of fixed deposit which is into the accounts. But of late, they have been going in for crowdfunding. But clearly a national party which has a footprint in many states and elections coming up with star campaigners also and candidates to be financed by the party. The Treasurer Ajay Makan has said the money is not good enough to fund the party's political activities.
Okay, Pallavi, thank you for joining us to bring us that context. We'll keep a keen eye on this story for you, our audiences. We're just going to play out first what different political reactions are coming in. Take a look.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के खातों को सील कर देना, भारी मात्रा में पैसों को जब्त कर लेना, 32 साल पुराने आयकर प्रकरण का कोई केस थमा देना, बहानेबाजी कर कर आर्थिक रूप से कांग्रेस पार्टी को एक लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड ना देना, मैं समझता हूँ ये शुद्ध रूप से आचार संहिता का, नैतिकता का, संविधान का उल्लंघन है। चुनाव के समय कांग्रेस के एआईसीसी के खातों को, एनएसयूआई के, यूथ कांग्रेस के खातों को सील कर देना और प्रतिशोध की भावना से काम करना लोकतंत्र को कमजोर करने के बराबर है।
देखिए, जब जनमत कोई खो देता है तब कोई ईवीएम मशीन पर प्रश्न करता है, कोई खातों की बात करता है। ये साफ विदित हो गया है कांग्रेस को कि प्रधानमंत्री जी के संकल्प में, प्रधानमंत्री जी की अद्वितीय विचारधारा में 140 करोड़ जन आज जुड़ चुका है। तो अब कारण ढूंढ रहे हैं।
असलियत ये है, और मैंने 10 बार पहले भी कहा, आज मेरे नेता ने कह दिया, आपने हमारे अकाउंट नहीं फ्रीज किए, आपने इस देश के लोकतंत्र को फ्रीज किया। एक 6 साल के बच्चे से सड़क पर पूछिएगा, हम चुनाव के मुहाने पे खड़े, 4 हफ्ते में पहली राउंड ऑफ वोटिंग है और देश का सबसे प्रमुख विपक्षी दल के आपने अकाउंट फ्रीज किए हुए हैं। ये लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड है। वहां पर जिस तरह के फबीते कसे जा रहे थे उस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में, उनसे पूछिएगा आप लोग कि क्या ये लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड है। आप इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड से वसूली कर रहे हैं, आप इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड के बदले धंधा दे रहे हैं और आप हमें पाठ पढ़ा रहे हैं। यहाँ पर किसी भी डेमोक्रेसी में अगर प्रमुख विपक्षी दल के अकाउंट्स फ्रोजन है तो ये डेमोक्रेसी फ्रीज होने के बराबर है, जो मेरे नेता ने कहा है आज।
In utter desperation of imminent defeat, the Congress party at the highest level sought to create an alibi today.
कांग्रेस पार्टी क्या चाहती है कि आयकर विभाग पूरे देश के लिए एक प्रकार से काम करे, कानून को जैसा है वैसे करे, और कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए दूसरे रूप से काम करे। हम कांग्रेस पार्टी है, नेहरू गांधी परिवार से, तो हमारे लिए अलग रूप से होना चाहिए।
Remember, it is not the bank account of the Congress party which is frozen. It is the Congress party which is frozen.
Amit Shah says that the frustration in the opposition parties is because the old system of money cut is not being, the opposition is not getting.
Seen the entire list of companies, how the ED first goes to their doorstep and then they buy electoral bonds. What is this if not chanda vasooli? What is this if not hafta vasooli?
Okay, it's time right now for a short break. On the other side, more of the country's top stories. This is The Nation at 5.
Kavita, she has been arrested and whisked away by the Enforcement Directorate. She's also obviously extremely upset right now, given the fact that others in the Liquorgate scam have not really had their way in the court of law.
Mr. Sen, the election commissioners were always selected by the Prime Minister earlier as well. In fact, now there is a 3-member committee. It wasn't so always.
Why should we believe that just like Bengal was a breakout for the BJP in 2019, that the South will not be one for the BJP this time?
Mr. Vivek Srivastava, you are not, as per your political ideology, allowed to define any religious faith, so don't attach any meaning to it without understanding what Hindutva actually is, sir.
Nice to meet you, brother. Can we get you behind the ballot box? Behind, if you go around behind the box.
This way, please. This way. Ahead. Here comes up.
You guys, chemistry? When I became party leader and Taoiseach back in June 2017, I knew that one part of leadership is knowing when the time has come to pass on the baton to somebody else, and then having the courage to do it. That time is now. So I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today, and will resign as Taoiseach as soon as my successor is able to take up that office. I've asked our Party General Secretary and Executive Council to provide for the new leader to be elected in advance of the Ardèche on Saturday, April 16th, thus allowing a new Taoiseach to be elected when the Dáil resumes after the Easter break. I know this will come as a surprise to many people and a disappointment to some, and I hope at least you will understand my decision. I know that others will, how shall I put it, cope with the news just fine. That is the great thing about living in a democracy. There's never a right time to resign high office. However, this is as good a time as any. Budget 2024 is done. Negotiations have not yet commenced on the next one. The institutions of the Good Friday Agreement are working again, and our trading relationship with the UK in the post-Brexit era is settled and stable. The new Taoiseach will have a full 2 months to prepare for the local and European elections, and up to a year before the next general election. My reasons for stepping down are both personal and political. I believe this government can be re-elected, and I believe my party, Fine Gael, can gain seats in the next Dáil. Most of all, I believe the re-election of this three-party government would be the right thing for the future of our country, continuing to take us forward, protecting all that's been achieved and building on it. But after careful consideration and some soul-searching, I believe that a new Taoiseach and a new leader will be better placed than me to achieve that, to renew and strengthen the team, to focus our message and policies, to drive implementation. And after 7 years in office, I don't feel I'm the best person for that job anymore. There are loyal colleagues and good friends contesting local European elections, and I want to give them the best chance possible. And I think they have a better chance under a new leader. I am standing aside in the absolute confidence that the country and the economy are in a good place, and that my colleagues in government from all three parties, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and the Greens and the Oireachtas, will continue to work.
Welcome back. You're watching The Nation at 5 right here on CNN News 18, and now we're bringing you a story that indeed concerns the entire nation. Just after the Prime Minister visited Arunachal Pradesh, China had made a few statements, and now United States, as you can see, putting out a statement earlier today in which they've made clear two different things. Number one, they've said that they recognize Arunachal Pradesh as a part of India, and number two, they've said they strongly condemn any kind of incursion taking place on the line of actual control, which is the line that separates China and India. Now, as this response has come in, you've already got diplomatic responses coming forth from China and from India. We'll bring you more on all of that. But these are developments that took place earlier today. First, reactions, then we'll go over to reporters.
The United States recognizes Arunachal Pradesh as Indian territory, and we strongly oppose any unilateral attempts to advance territorial claims by incursions or encroachments, military or civilian, across the line of actual control.
Okay, let's go over now to our colleague Abhishek Jha to understand more. Abhishek, a two-pronged question for you. First, obviously, tell us about the most recent back and forth we've seen around Arunachal Pradesh. So tell us about, we've just told our audiences about the American statement, but there is already a Chinese response to that. Tell us about that. But then, Abhishek, if we could ask you to take our audiences into the history of this entire story. This is a long storied history around Arunachal Pradesh that if you could just inform our audiences about.
Well, today talking about the recent developments, we have seen a lot of back and forth happening between India and China, and the tensions have been high since the Galwan clash of 2020, where we saw casualties also in military terms. And since then, there have been a massive deployment, armory and armed personnel also on both the sides. Also, Chinese sides have been trying to up the ante, and Indian, counter deployment have stopped them from doing any further misadventure into the territory that India considers its own. We know that India and China, they have been following the de facto line of control, that is also known as line of actual control. That is not the official boundary between the two nations, and that is broadly decided by the 1914 McMahon line that was decided between the British Empire, erstwhile British Empire, and the Chinese side. And since then, India had followed that McMahon line, and it considers the McMahon line as a international, division. However, Chinese claim have been that they would not mark it as a final demarcation between the two sides, and the negotiations on the boundary disputes along the hundreds of kilometers of boundary between India and China have been going on. The 90,000 square kilometers is the area of Arunachal Pradesh that China considers its own as part of southern Tibet. And that is one of the reasons why China calls it with different name, that is Gangnam. We have been hearing reports multiple times in the recent months where Chinese side have created villages very near to the border along Indian side, and just to claim that these villages have been existing there for a very long time. They have been also trying to rename locations and regions in Arunachal Pradesh as per their own convenience, which India has rebuffed in the past as well. And the latest commentary coming from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Defense as well, after Prime Minister Modi had inaugurated the Sela Tunnel. That tunnel is of very significant geographic importance, because it will not only reduce the time travel between Tawang, that is the foremost bordering area for the troop deployment, but it will also make it possible for troops to be moved around in this area round the year. This is an all-weather connectivity project. And in the recent years, we have seen India has upped the developmental projects along the bordering areas, and that has not gone down well with the Chinese side. However, they have also been trying to develop these areas in terms of connectivity projects or establishing new helipad or infrastructure projects that would allow them to swiftly move a heavy armored division. That has been the case with both India and China, but India's counter challenge in that region is something that is worrying China now, because they have been thinking that their dominance will allow them to do some incursion or some encroachment in the future, and probably that would be the new line of de facto control. That is not happening. India's counter deployment has not allowed Chinese incursion, and that is one of the reasons Chinese commentaries keep happening, that because it is Arunachal Pradesh their own, and India's claim is not good. India maintains sovereignty over Arunachal Pradesh, and that is the broad understanding that the world also has about Arunachal Pradesh, that Arunachal Pradesh is a sovereign territory of India, and the Chinese claim over this line is something that is not respected by law.
Okay, Abhishek, I do want to ask you, over the last year, China is seeing an economic downturn of sorts. Now, some experts are saying that over the last month or so, it is seeing a more robust recovery. But there are experts who are also saying that you will see a rise in such topics in the mainstream in China, almost as a distraction tactic from the economy. Can you comment on that, Abhishek?
Well, we have seen, of course, Chinese economy has been a matter of concern. We have seen multiple media reports across the world which have expressed their worry about slowing rate of growth in China, especially in the real estate sector, and a lot of investment that the Chinese side have been doing in the defense sector. Also, ever since President Xi Jinping has been elected, and now he is in a more stable political position, he also wants to distract his people from the after effect of COVID pandemic that has in a way destroyed the middle class income or the smaller industries, not only in China but the other parts of the world also. But the Chinese side, which has claimed that its economic growth has steeped into at the lowest level, does not want to accept the after effect of economic policies, which is now coming out as something that has not distributed the wealth equitably across the various layers of society. And various sectors in Chinese economy, especially the infrastructure and the real estate, are now facing the brunt of the poor economic growth rate in China. That could be one of the reasons which various experts have stated that Chinese side is trying to distract its domestic audience by playing some, these regional conflicts. That is, one is along Indian borders, and the second is in South China Sea, where it has a long and historical conflict with Taiwan, and some part of that conflict is also concerned with the Japanese island into that region. That will again be the South China Sea region.
Abhishek, thank you for that context. Let's just take a look at what the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had to say about this. Take a look.
There were missed foreign policy opportunities, particularly vis-a-vis Pakistan and vis-a-vis China.
And vis-a-vis the US.
And vis-a-vis the US as well. So, but some would say, now you have the benefit of hindsight to make that argument, to make that case. Perhaps in the 50s and 60s, that case would have been looked down upon or may not have been entertained. So, how do you then make the case that, these were missed goals or missed opportunities because there was a certain political bent of mind?
I saw that argument coming, and therefore I anticipated it. So,
a good batsman.
So let me tell you. First of all, I just want you to think of this one very simple fact. You got Pakistan wrong, you got China wrong, you got US right, and we had a great foreign policy. I'm giving you an example of China. Patel puts in writing that today, for the first time, we are facing a two-front situation. The intentions of China cannot be taken in a positive way. There is much that we have to apprehend. So please do not, have a sort of rosy picture of the situation. What is the answer from Nehru? I cannot conceive that anybody would undertake a wild adventure across the Himalayas. By the way, that's exactly what they did in 1962. So now, if Jaishankar in 2024 says, oh, they got it wrong in 1954, your question is very, very valid. It's not Jaishankar who's saying it. It's Patel saying it on China. It is Shyama Prasad Mukherjee saying it on Pakistan. It is B.R. Ambedkar who says, look, why are you alienating the Americans?
On a similar topic, Home Minister Amit Shah also at the Rising Bharat Summit. Take a look.
चुनाव पास आ रहा है. अभी कुछ खबर आ रही है कि चाइनीज मिलिट्री ने कुछ दिनों पहले कहा कि अरुणाचल प्रदेश जो है उनका एक अभिन्न अंग है. इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं? क्या ये
जवाहरलाल नेहरू के समय से कह रहे हैं जी, और बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा वो उस वक्त हड़प भी कर गए. मेरा तो जन्म नहीं हुआ था 1962 में
जी,
परंतु ये मोदी सरकार है. 1 इंच भी जमीन देश की किसी भी सरहद पर कोई नहीं ले सकता. ये हमारा भारत की जनता को वादा है.
Okay, we're now taking you to a particularly interesting and important story playing out down south in Tamil Nadu, where you might already know, famed musician T.M. Krishna was awarded a top award, in fact the highest award one can receive in Carnatic music, by the Madras Music Academy. Now just a few days after that awarding, controversy now being created with a few senior musicians coming forward and saying that they oppose T.M. Krishna's nomination. You might already know this, but T.M. Krishna has over the last few years come to be known not just for his musical quality but also for his activism. He in particular has protested against what he's called casteist and gendered practices within Carnatic music in itself. He's been very vocal about it. It seems as if this aspect is exactly what these musicians have opposed. They've written a letter. Now the Academy has defended itself in a formal letter that it has put out now, and it's not just that, the DMK also has come out in support of T.M. Krishna. We'll just walk you through different reactions to the story, then we'll connect with reporters to understand more. Okay, we're actually going to first go over to our colleague Purnima. She's already been connected with us. Let's go over to her to understand more. Purnima, we were just telling our audiences that the Academy has already formally responded to what several senior musicians have had to say against T.M. Krishna. Can you first just highlight for us what it is that the Academy had to say?
Well, in fact, the Academy had responded through a statement taking to social media, saying that they should have waited for a response from the Music Academy, and said it's discourteous of them to take to Twitter, and also condemned the move, saying that just because they don't like T.M. Krishna, they have decided to not participate, and this is not the right way forward. They have come out in support of TM Krishna as well, saying that there was no bias when he was being honored the award, and it's only after a lot of opinion that they've decided to award him, and that there is nothing wrong, and has strongly condemned the Carnatic singers Ranjani and Gayatri for having taken to social media condemning TM Krishna and calling him and issuing a very strong statement against TM Krishna. So they have come out in support of TM Krishna, and now the Carnatic singers Ranjani and Gayatri, we'll have to wait and see how they will now take this forward.
Okay, Purnima, thank you for bringing us those details. These are obviously aspects we're going to continue to track. Right now, let's move on to a different election-focused story. We're obviously just a few weeks away from the general elections that are just right around the corner. And the exciting story, obviously, is how alliances are forming on both sides. We're going to take a look right now at the BJP, which has emerged as a formidable alliance former over the last few weeks. In particular, we're going to take a look at 3 different states. In Punjab, that big question, whether or not they'll partner with the Shrimani Akali Dal. Remember, they have prominent opposition in both the Aam Aadmi Party, which is the party that is in power, and the Congress. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they do partner with the Shrimani Akali Dal and, of course, Captain Amrinder Singh, who was once the Chief Minister as part of the Congress, his party. So we'll just bring you more context on that. We're also going to take you to 2 other states. In Tamil Nadu, where it's important to see that the BJP has failed to make a mark in the past. They're hoping to open an account this time of some kind. There they might form an alliance with the PMK, 10 seats on the table that will be going to the PMK. That's going to be the BJP's plan to permeate into a state where they've had some difficulty. Remember, for them, that south push is very important. 130 seats coming from the south. The BJP failed to get more than 30 seats in 2019 in these southern 5 states, which is why their game plan there is so important. Now, the last state we're going to take a look at today itself is, of course, Odisha, where that big question of whether or not they're going to partner with the Biju Janata Dal, that remains on the table. Remember, the interesting part about that alliance is comments we've seen from Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, where he said that the BJP doesn't need us in the centre and we don't necessarily need the BJP right here in the state. How will that shape up for the BJP? That's the key question. Quickly, we're first going to take you to responses, then we'll connect with reporters for more.
2 प्रदेश जहां पे चुनाव इंटरेस्टिंग हो सकता है वो है बिहार और महाराष्ट्र. थोड़ा उस पर बात करूंगा. बिहार पे आपने फिर एक बार पलटू राम जी तो पलटी मारते रहते हैं, इस बार आपने भी पलटी मारी और उनको आपने 16 सीटें दे दी.
देखो भैया, हमने नहीं मारा है पलटी. नीतीश बाबू हमारे साथ ज्वाइन हुए. हम तो जहां थे वहीं ही थे जी. हम गंगा किनारे
वो पलट के वापस फिर
हम गंगा किनारे ही थे, गंगा किनारे ही रहे. कोई हमारे साथ आकर मिला,
पर 16 सीटें उनको दे दी आपने.
नहीं, वो तो बिहार यूनिट का नेगोशिएशन का जो नतीजा है वो आपके सामने है. हम पहली बार नीतीश कुमार जी से ज्यादा सीटें लड़ रहे हैं जी. बड़े भाई की भूमिका में आए हैं, वो हमारे लिए बड़ी बात है और मुझे विश्वास है कि हम बहुत अच्छी तरह से बिहार में विजयी.
5 सीट चिराग पासवान जी को दी, पर पशुपति पारस को आपने डंप कर दिया. कोई उनके संग भी समझौता हो सकता है? अभी उन्होंने रिजाइन भी कर दिया आपकी मंत्रालय मिनिस्ट्री.
अब समझौते की गुंजाइश
नहीं रही,
कम रह गई है, लगभग नहींवत है. अच्छा था अगर परिवार पूरा साथ में आता, मगर ठीक है भाई.
अभी आप बड़े भाई के रूप में यहाँ आए हैं, तो क्या विधानसभा में भी बड़े भाई के रूप में ही आएंगे और मुख्यमंत्री का चेहरा भारतीय जनता पार्टी का होगा?
अभी कुछ नहीं तय नहीं. हमें लोकसभा का चुनाव है, 370 और 400 के लक्ष्य के लिए सब लोग लगे हैं. विजयी होने के बाद आगे का रणनीति हम बनाएंगे.
इस बार देखा है बिहार में आपने और छोटी पार्टियों को भी साथ में ले लिया. यही रुख जो है महाराष्ट्र में भी देख रहे हैं. अगर महाराष्ट्र में देखें तो आप पहले आप शिंदे जी को लाए, उसके बाद अजीत पवार आए, आज कल आपसे राज ठाकरे भी मिलकर गए हैं. तो कितनी सीटों का आपको, पिछली बार 41 सीटें थी आपकी 48 में, क्या उससे ऊपर?
हम 41 से ज्यादा सीटें महाराष्ट्र में जीतेंगे. और ये जो घमंडिया गठबंधन प्रचार कर रहा है, पार्टियां तोड़ी, पार्टियां हमने नहीं तोड़ी. शिवसेना तोड़ने का काम उद्धव ठाकरे के पुत्र प्रेम ने किया है. अगर वो एकनाथ शिंदे को उनका उचित सम्मान देते तो शिवसेना न तोड़ती. और एनसीपी तोड़ने का काम शरद पवार जी की पुत्री प्रेम ने किया है. अगर वो अजीत पवार को उनका उचित सम्मान देते तो आज वो उनके साथ ही होते, हमारे साथ थोड़ी ना आते. वो तो सरकार में थे सब। मगर जब आप पुत्र पुत्री के मोह में अंध हो जाते हो तब पार्टियां टूटती है। इसका आरोप हम पर नहीं लगाना चाहिए।
कितनी सीटों पर लड़ेंगे आप? 30 के आसपास। आप क्या डिवीजन हुआ है?
अभी तय नहीं हुआ है, मगर स्वाभाविक रूप से महाराष्ट्र में हम सबसे बड़ी पार्टी होगी।
और उसके बाद शिंदे सेना और उसके बाद अजीत पवार।
हाँ, कमोबेश यही होगा।
कह रहे हैं लोग कि
नंबर ऑफ सीट अभी तय
नहीं हुई। पंजाब में क्या है? अकाली दल से कभी हाँ कभी ना बातचीत, कहीं कोई एग्रीमेंट कुछ हुआ है? कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह और
ये आप जिस तरह से सवाल पूछे, कभी हाँ कभी ना है ही नहीं। अभी नेगोशिएशन चल रहा है, तो नेगोशिएशन में तो एक ऑफर होती है, हम काउंटर ऑफर देते हैं, वो काउंटर ऑफर देते हैं, हम ऑफर देते हैं, ये चलता है। इसको हाना में नहीं देखना चाहिए।
तो उम्मीद है कि
मुझे लगता है 2-3 दिन में स्थिति स्पष्ट हो जाएगी।
पर आप लोग चाहते हैं कि साथ में लड़ें, ये स्वाभाविक।
हम तो चाहते हैं कि हमारे एनडीए के सारे साथी हमारे साथ हो, फिर से एक बार सारा एनडीए संपूर्ण बने। परंतु भारतीय जनता पार्टी का उचित हिस्सा और हमारे कार्यकर्ताओं का सम्मान, वो भी हमारी चिंता का विषय होता है।
तो हरियाणा में दुष्यंत चौटाला से बाद में फिर से समझौता हो सकता है? दरवाजे बंद नहीं है, एनडीए में रह सकते हैं। अभी तो आपने
बहुत जल्दी होगी। अभी तो वो हमसे अलग हुए हैं, उन्होंने अपनी सीटें लड़ने का ऐलान किया है, तो अब तो आमने सामने चुनाव लड़ेंगे और जब नतीजे आएंगे तब देखेंगे। मगर अभी तो हम आमने सामने ही चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं।
ओडिशा के बारे में तो कुछ बताइए कि साथ में है या नहीं साथ में? अलग अलग लड़ रहे हैं कि साथ में लड़ेंगे? पांडियन जी यहां आए थे, उन्होंने कहा कि सब प्रधानमंत्री के हाथ में है।
अभी तय नहीं हुआ है, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष जी हमारे तय करेंगे। परंतु इतना निश्चित है कि हम ओडिशा में हमारी स्ट्रेंथ बहुत बड़ी करने जा रहे हैं। ओडिशा की जनता का मोदी जी के प्रति जो प्यार है, वो हमारे कार्यकर्ता बिल्कुल उष्मा के साथ और विनम्रता के साथ उसका स्वीकार भी करते हैं, इसको फील भी करते हैं।
सीटें बढ़ेंगी पिछली बार से लोकसभा चुनाव में, और विधानसभा में क्या होगा?
निश्चित रूप से विधानसभा लोकसभा दोनों में बड़ी बढ़ोतरी होगी और चुनावी पंडितों की गिनती से कई गुना ज्यादा सीटें भारतीय जनता पार्टी की।
ओडिशा में सरकार बनाने की हालत में है आप लोग?
कुछ भी हो सकता है, पहले तय हो जाए कि हम साथ में जा रहे हैं या अकेले जा रहे हैं। साथ में जाएंगे तो बीजू बाबू नेता है, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से हम साथी के रूप में लड़ेंगे। अकेले जाएंगे तो हम सरकार बनाने के लिए ही लड़ेंगे।
पांडियन जी ने एक अजीब सी बात कही। उन्होंने कहा कि देखिए, सेंटर में बीजेपी को बीजेडी की जरूरत नहीं है और स्टेट में बीजेडी को बीजेपी की जरूरत नहीं है। क्या इस बात से आप सहमत?
देखिए, गठबंधन हमेशा जरूरियात के आधार पर नहीं होता। हमें ढेर सारी पार्टियों ने ये पूरे 5 साल में राष्ट्रीय हित के जो मुद्दे थे, इसमें इश्यू बेस्ड समर्थन पार्लियामेंट में दिया है। चाहे 370 हो पहले, चाहे जीएसटी करना था, चाहे बॉन्ड हो। बॉन्ड भी कांग्रेस ने विरोध नहीं किया था
जी,
उस वक्त नहीं किया था
जी।
मगर इश्यू बेस्ड समर्थन हमें ढेर सारी पार्टियों ने दिया है। और मैं मानता हूं कि ये लोकतंत्र की खूबसूरती है कि विरोध हर मुद्दे पर नहीं होता है। जो मुद्दा देश हित में होता है, इसका समर्थन इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स करना चाहिए, सबने करना चाहिए।
Okay, it's time right now for a short break. On the other side, in just a few minutes, more of the country's top stories. This is The Nation at 5.
Brought to you by
best interests. On a personal level, I've enjoyed being Taoiseach, leader and a cabinet member since March 2011. I've learned so much about so many things, met so many people who I'd never got to meet, been to places I would never have seen, both home and abroad. And I am deeply grateful for it. And despite the challenges, would wholeheartedly recommend a career in politics to anyone who's considering it. However, politicians are human beings and we have our limitations. We give it everything until we can't anymore, and then we have to move on. I will of course continue to fulfil my duties as Taoiseach until a new one is elected, and will remain as constituency TD for Dublin West.
I think there's not a damn thing we can't do together, so welcome.
Thank you so much. Since your visit to Ireland last year, it's really good to see the institutions in Northern Ireland up and running. it just makes such a difference to have the Good Friday Agreement properly functioning. As you know, the Deputy First Minister are here, the Executive Assembly are operating. We'll have our North-South Ministerial Council meeting next month and the British-Irish Council in June. So really good to see the promise of that agreement, that Good Friday Agreement, being fulfilled again, which is such a positive change since the last time we met. As you mentioned, we've celebrating 100 years of diplomatic relations. The US is one of the first countries to recognise Irish independence, and it's become such a strong relationship since then. As you mentioned, we've celebrating 100 years of diplomatic relations. The US is one of the first.
Welcome to St. Patrick's Day at the White House.
I just wanted to very briefly acknowledge two special guests who flew here to be here today. They are Ed Guiney and Andrew Lowe from Elwyn Pictures, who made us very proud by winning 4 Oscars.
Everyone, how's it going?
Welcome back. You're watching The Nation at 5 right here on CNN News 18. We're taking you very quickly to some breaking news we've got coming in. The INB Ministry officially telling social media influencers to be careful about posts that they put up that are endorsing offshore online gambling and betting platforms. The government has essentially said that if they find any social media influencers doing the same, they're going to be taking down their posts. My colleague Payal Mehta with more. Let's go over to her. Payal, over to you.
Well, of course, as far as the social media influencers are concerned, these prominent people are concerned, Toya, you have to understand that they have an impact on society because they tend to actually, be role models as far as large people, especially the youth, is really concerned. So looking at the fact that some of them could be probably seen in promoting things like online betting and online gambling, etc. is concerned, that's something which is not what we would like to see our children really get into, our youth really get into. So that's the reason. There has always been a practice when celebrities have been told to be very, very careful of what they endorse and who they endorse. So this is also another reason that if they are seen promoting anything of that sort, then under the IT rules, their post will be taken off. So that's what the INB Ministry advisory, which has just been put out, says. It comes in at a very crucial juncture because, you're looking at the big 2024 elections. You're looking at various endorsements taking place, and you do not want anybody to fall prey to any of these fake news, false news, or even false propaganda.
Thank you for bringing us this context, Payal. Okay, we're now taking you to a special last slice of information we have for you. Since the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, came into the position he did, one of his key interests has been making the judiciary accessible, entirely accessible to those who are not just in the public, but also those who might have special needs. My colleague, our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar, sat down with him for this interview. It's the last thing we're bringing you on the show, so thank you for staying with us.
Access to justice might just be a very simple English phrase. However, for somebody who is seeking justice, it can be the last hope in this whole wild world. With Justice D.Y. Chandrachud taking over as the Chief Justice of India, the idea of a more inclusive courtroom which could be more accessible and functional to even those who have faced difficulty or who are in fact specially able was taken into consideration. The Supreme Court has now made various accessibility changes when it comes to accessing justice or approaching the topmost court of the country.
In a bid to make the Supreme Court building more inclusive, tactile paths, gender-neutral toilets, braille-equipped signboards and special toilets for the differently abled have been added. Low railings on ramps have also been installed to facilitate pregnant women and those using wheelchairs. These changes will be seen in both the old and the new Supreme Court building.
Presently, Honorable the Chief Justice of India has created Accessibility and Inclusion section, which looks after the implementation of recommendations which have been made in the Accessibility Report 2023. We are in the process of completing it by end of March, and almost 80% recommendations have been implemented.
Part of my endeavor to promote accessibility is also to promote transparency first and foremost, because it's when you promote transparency that you can really further accessibility. And as part of the report, there have been wide-ranging recommendations which we are implementing at different layers. One layer would be in terms of physical accessibility, tactile paving, proper marking of pathways, hydraulic lifts.
Moving on with the times is a must, and modernizing judicial infrastructure is also needed to meet future challenges. The Chief Justice of India agrees.
In the latest bid to make justice accessible for all, this is the new accessibility window that would be inaugurated very, very soon. The volunteers here would guide the people to not only, in fact, the courts, but also to the filing counters. There would be wheelchair support and other facilities that could make justice more accessible and friendly to everybody.
Under the guidance of the Chief Justice of India, we are working on enhancing the physical and functional accessibility in the Supreme Court of India. While working on these activities, including introducing the technology in the judicial domain, the basic theme of it is access and inclusion. The single window which will be made operational soon in the Supreme Court of India will not only provide assistance to the persons with disabilities, but also to the women who is in need of assistance and the senior citizens who are coming to the court for attending their legal matters or for any other functional activities.
Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud has been driving technological changes in the judiciary. He aims to use it to eliminate the inefficiency and opacity surrounding judicial processes.
The new website we have is not only bilingual, but it has been considered to make it how best we can make it accessible friendly. The images to be uploaded on our website should have captions, because a screen reader which reads an image, or a visually impaired person who has to visit our website and access they can't see the image. So the heading defined left to right, just like in the media, in the newspaper you see left to right, who is standing or what's happening, the description. So that practice is also there. Foremost, since we are the biggest content generator, courts, I mean so we have strict policy in our new website, no physical scanned document. We try to use born digital PDFs.
And I'm very happy by the initiatives the courts have taken and the judgments that are given basically in these infrastructure things, that all the public buildings should be accessible to people, even the courts also, so that it actually gives us a kind of a confidence.
Providing earmarked spaces for senior citizens, pregnant women, differently abled persons, so on and so forth. So washrooms, drinking water facilities, availability of medical care. So we've been working very seriously on that.
Removing barriers to justice is one of the big challenges we face today, and with initiatives like these, the Chief Justice of India hopes to overcome just that. With Ananya Bhatnagar, Ayushman Singh Jamwal, CNN News 18.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Voting in phase 1 of Lok Sabha polls is all set to take place on April 19, and barely weeks ahead of the elections, a political war has broken out on political or election fundings. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Parliamentary Party Chief Sonia Gandhi and MP Rahul Gandhi addressed a joint press conference today attacking the BJP over election funds. Expressing outrage over freezing of their bank accounts by the Income Tax Department, the Congress accused the BJP or the central government of crippling the party financially ahead of Lok Sabha elections. The Congress accused the BJP of playing a dangerous game, demanding that agencies like the EC step in to ensure a level playing field. Now, BJP was quick to counter Congress's claims and said the party is conveniently blaming their irrelevance on financial troubles. Party Chief JP Nadda, in fact, went on to say that Congress's bankruptcy is moral and intellectual, not financial. This all pertains to tax and interest recovery from the Congress party in cases dating a few years back. So is it truly a matter of concern that a principal opposition party's bank accounts are inaccessible ahead of elections allegedly due to some political action? Or is the Congress guilty of raising rhetoric over what is its own folly in not paying appropriate amount of taxes in the past? We take that question to our guests in just a bit, but first up, take a look at how Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Kharge attacked the centre over the issue today, even demanding that the election commissions should step in. So Sonia Gandhi accused the centre of trying to cripple the party financially by freezing its bank accounts just ahead of elections. Rahul Gandhi said ahead of these elections, the party's ability to fight them has been damaged. They've already lost a month. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge alleged that their bank accounts have been frozen to ensure that they are unable to contest the elections on an equal footing. Sonia Gandhi also alleged that this matter is beyond just the Congress party, that this is about opposition or opposition's funding and finances being under a determined assault. Rahul questioned the silence of the Election Commission over the issue. He said protectors of the democratic framework are not speaking up. Mallikarjun Kharge, for example, went on to highlight that the party was unable to conduct normal campaign activities like paying workers or getting pamphlets published, booking advertisement slots or support their candidates. Finally, Sonia Gandhi also said that while on one hand their funds are being crushed, electoral bonds now cancelled by the Supreme Court benefited largely the BJP. Calling it criminal action on the Congress, Rahul said the idea that India is the world's largest democracy is a lie. Kharge demanded a special investigation into the electoral bond scheme and said that BJP's bank accounts should also be frozen till the time that investigation is completed. So what is this entire Congress tax saga all about? Congress has said that they are unable to access any of the 285 crore rupees lying in their accounts. They have even claimed that they've received a notice for